Greetings, everybody. This is DragonLance for 5th edition, and my name is Kai. I am your host for this series. What we're doing is we're taking the original DragonLance modules and updating for 5th edition. Along the way, we're kind of playing around with some ideas to smooth over some parts, make some parts better, add to the lore, and that sort of thing. Today, we're going to be entering Tsaroth, which is the first dungeon of the game, and we are going to go get about halfway through it in this particular video. We're gonna have some ideas about really fleshing out this dungeon and making it ultra cool. If you have played this game before, or if you've read the book, Tsaroth is just one of the coolest areas of the module, and something that I'm really looking forward to delving into. We are still actually in book 1, Dragons of Despair, and once we get out of Tsaroth, we're going to be leaving book 1. But if you are looking for this particular module, you can get it at Drive Through RPG. You can also get it in the larger collection of the classics, which is the kind of the 2nd edition version. It's pretty much word for word what this is, but it combines the first 4 modules into a single document. So if you want to save some money, get more bang out of your buck, that's the way you go. That's what I'm playing off of as well. This is where I'm going to have to ask, if you are a player who has not gone through this dungeon before, I'm going to ask you to take your leave at this point. Lots of spoilers within, but by all means, send your dungeon master over to hang out. If you are a dungeon master, if you've played this dungeon before, then welcome, and let's get going. So we're going to head over to the map here. So actually, let me start off with this. This is the way this dungeon is set out. Tsaroth was a city. Then the cataclysm happened, and literally half the city just slid down the new sea, now just this cliffside just slid down, and it submerged into the bottom. Then part of the city just kind of crumbled and toppled over along the cliffside. And then finally, the part that we've actually just finished up with in our last video is remaining at top, but it's just ruins now at this point, because it's part of a swamp and it's exposed to the elements. If you haven't seen those videos, we've been going chapter by chapter through this game, and so I'm going to put the playlist up here. You might want to check that out, because we've explored the countryside, we've gone through the swamp at the top of Tsaroth. Now we're heading underground. The first thing is the map that's actually in the book is this actually the top part. It does sink quite a bit further. This is a very, very vertical dungeon. Like I said, this takes place literally on a cliff side. So you're starting off on the surface level, and then you're descending down into the underground as you go. And so it's a very, very vertical dungeon. I really like this map in that it shows the verticality of it, which I think is very, very neat. If I had the original books, this is one of these fold out things that's super cool. I don't. I have PDFs, and this it was ridiculously hard to put together. It was ridiculously hard to read, and I didn't go with that. Instead, I made my own map, and so here's what we're going to do. So the thing you see on the left, this is what you first enter into. This is the actual temple itself. Then the part to the right is we're going to go down into the crypt, and that's where we're going to kind of start our dungeon. So there's not a lot to say here. There's not a ton of enemies yet. What enemies we have in the crypt area are draconians, and we've kind of gone over the draconians before. I'll throw that link up there as well. And so there's not a lot we need to convert. The statue, there's one update that I do want to make, and this is a thing to just do with just there's we're gonna get to it in the next video, but there's a Deus Ex Machina in this dungeon. I don't like it. I don't like it. And since y'all have already let me know that you're either a dungeon master or you've been through this dungeon before by still watching this. What happens is when you face off with Cassanth, the black dragon, you hear this voice in your head that basically says, smack the staff into it. And I don't like that, because it's like the whole time that if the players don't know that there's a way to defeat this dragon, it's going to kind of affect the way they play. But if they know ahead of time that there's a plan here, then I think that turns out to just be better in the long run. You avoid the Deus Ex Machina thing where they thought, we're really going to have to fight this dragon. Oh no. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we don't have to fight it. We just have to smack it in the nose with the staff. I don't like it. So what I had when they encountered Mishakal, and in the very beginning, is part of Mishakal's speech is to take the staff and use it against Cassanth, and that's all they're going to know for the whole dungeon. This actually worked out well, because they were discussing amongst themselves. The entire dungeon is like, wait, what does it mean? How do we use it against them? Do we cast a spell? Do we smack them? Do we hold it aloft? There's a lot of ways to interpret that. And so that fosters some discussion. It fosters some tension. How is exactly this going to work? The other thing that they are going to meet in this upper area is gully dwarfs for the first time. Now, if you've read the book, look, gully dwarfs are adorable. They're adorable, and you should play them adorable. They are remarkably stupid, but they have their own particular ways about things, and that can really play off very, very nicely. So one of the things with gully dwarves is that they don't trust magical items, because if they thought, in their reasoning, hey, if this item were good enough by itself, it wouldn't need magic. And so they think magical items are actually weak items. And so there's one point where the party's coming across this magical item, and the gully dwarves are actually telling them to leave it alone. It's stupid, it's weak. And then they realize, oh wait, this is magic. Okay, yeah, we'll take this off your hands, But they should be played. They should be played for laughs. They should kind of have that element like Boo-Poo does in the book. That's just so much fun. The gully dwarves can't count beyond 2. My gully dwarves mixed up their right and their left. So like depending on the gully dwarf, like one of them would say everything is right, one of them would say everything is left, and so they'd go, all right, let's go to the left, and then they turn right, or whatever the case may be. Everything is like, how many draconians are there? 2. They'll think about it. It's like, yeah, I think there's 2. That could be 2, that could be 1, that could be 1,000. They don't know, they don't have any concept of that. So my party convinced them that they were they were the inspectors the dragon has sent, and so demanded a tour. And so the gully dwarfs took them for a tour. Now, if they do something like that, remember, what gully dwarfs find interesting is not what the party's going to find interesting. And so, like, my gully dwarfs took them into a room. It's like, hey, we found a rat in here one day, so we come in here and check every single day because there might be another rat. So that's the kind of thing that you can do with the gully dwarves, and they're so much fun, and my party just absolutely adored them. So if you get in, if you go down, from here, if you go down, this is when you're really going to need to start thinking about what is Cassanth doing. Now, the book just places the boss in the last room, but would he be doing that? I mean, he already knows that there are intruders. We've already faced Cassanth, right? And so what is he doing? He doesn't want to expose himself, but he's probably dealing with his draconians to find these people, get rid of them. What do they, the blue crystal staff is here. And so we need to be thinking about that as dungeon masters. And so if the party takes a long time resting up in the upper levels, Xanth is probably waking up some Draconians and sending them up. On the other hand, like my party, way down in the bottom, found a really great hiding spot to rest. And so by that point, Xanth is needing a nap, everybody else is needing a nap, and things are kind of settling down a little bit, and that worked out really well for them. But as we get into this second level, this is something that we're going to have to think about. Do the Draconians on the second level, has there been enough time for them to get the heads up from down below? Hey, there's some intruders here, because they might be looking out for them. If not, they're probably not expecting anybody. So I'm going to need to. When I set this up, I didn't realize my face was going to be in the way. I'm going to remove my face. We are going to put a circle kind of. And I even put that in the wrong spot. All right, there we go. So this over here is the elevators. Now this is one of the more famous areas. This is actually how the Draconians get up to the top, because they can glide, so they can get down fairly easily, but getting up is another story. And so there's a whole line of gully dwarves that are waiting to be the counterweight to bring, because they just have this lever system where one bucket's going up and one bucket's going down. So a bunch of gully dwarves jump in one bucket and push them up. So as you get there, what the book says is, look, if more than a couple of people get into the it's actually a big like cauldron thing. The bucket, then it starts going down too fast, and it kind of expects you to do the battle right there. There's an opportunity here, though. There's an opportunity here, because in this wild descent, you can actually have a battle. Remember, the Draconians can glide. First of all, there's Draconians coming up the other way. And so there's a basket full of Draconians coming this way while the heroes are going down. And then you can have Draconians, from different parts of the city notice this and start gliding in with swords outstretched. Rah! And the party has to figure out, it's like, can I take these out by bows? What can I do? And then like some of them are turning to stone, and there's crumbling, and there's falling down. And you can describe how long it takes before you hear the collision at the bottom. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do here. I was so excited for this battle, and my party did not take it. Because you can just go through the sewers, and that's probably the safer way, and it shows you more of the city, and so it might be the more worthwhile way. But that is something that you can really make a set piece. I'm a big believer in, if you're going to have a battle, it should be memorable. This is something that Francis Ford Coppola said. I was watching the commentary and the behind the scenes for The Godfather. He said there's a lot of violence in these movies, and so what he wanted to do was to make each scene, there's something about each scene that's memorable, and that way the violence doesn't all run together, but you remember it's like, oh yeah, De Niro like shut, and then he was using that blanket to be his silencer, and then it catches fire and he has to put it out. That's the kind of thing that's memorable, and that keeps the violence from just becoming one long slog of a battle. That's something I believe in, and that's something that you could really do in this scene to make very intense, very cool battle. Let me think. Up here, up on the top side, is a treasury. Now, keep in mind, thieves have picked this place clean, but that treasury is really hard to get to, and no one has found it yet. Furthermore, it's actually guarded by a ghost. And check out the I'm only bringing this up because what's in the book is really, really good, but this is almost an opportunity to do some like make this like a really heartwarming story. Like my ghost here is talking about how he was stationed there and he was ordered not to move, but the temptation, because he was hearing the destruction around him, and it was echoing through these catacombs and hitting him, and how difficult it was. And then he found he couldn't get out, and so he starved to death, and they found his skeleton there. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this to help put the players in that moment, the moment that Tsaroth was destroyed. I had a lot of fun with this area. All right, so let's head down. This middle area, you're only going to get here is if you go down the sewers. If you go down the little elevator thing, you're actually going to go straight down to the bottom. But this is a really cool area, and I think it was a lot of fun. Keep in mind, Draconians don't come here. There's not a lot of enemies here. The only enemies actually you actually can fight in here are ghosts and spiders. Draconians go up and down on those, they glide down, they go up on the elevator, so they don't need to come here. Only Gully Dwarfs come here, and they do it to kind of shimmy back up, up after they become the counterweight for that for the little pulley system. And so here, I actually wanted to bring Boo-Poo in from the books, and so here's where they met her. It was a lot of fun there as well. My party interacted with Gully Dwarfs at every possible moment because they just love the Gully Dwarfs, which is exactly how it should be. The book in here is really cool. So what this area is this is the part that started sliding down the cliff and actually flipped over but remains somewhat intact, and it got wedged. And so you go through a lot of areas with a bunch of ghosts, but the ghosts are all above you because that's where the floor was. And so this is just a very, very cool atmospheric type of place. A couple of things to note in here. There's a in the court of the philosopher area here. If there will be a ghost that will answer any question that the party throws at him, and he'll only answer what he knows. So he doesn't know anything about the blue crystal staff. My party asked him, this was a great question, what is the safest way to get the plates? He does know where the plates are. What is the safest way to give the plates? And so he gave a very thorough answer. And for half the time, my party ignored him until they realized they were ignoring him, and then they stopped and like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. And so, by all means, like if they come into this room, reward them for that. There's not a lot of treasure in this place, and so there should be like these moments where at least being rewarded with story. The treasury is over here. Now, actually, I didn't put a circle on it, but to the south of the treasury, right where the DragonLance symbol is that's actually open area along the cliffside. And so the water is coming through from the north side of this map and coming around and falling down into the area below. Now, another moment? What is K'Santh doing? What is K'Santh doing at this moment? If he is, I kind of imagine him doing periodic, circles around just to see if he can locate before retreating back. He's able to, he'll go out a little bit, but then he gets nervous about it and he wants to retreat to familiar ground. And so this could be a moment where the players are reminded of how dangerous this is as they're looking out. Because does K'Santh go by? Does K'Santh notice them? Now this is going to be a fairly easy place where the party can get away. There's a kind of a narrow hallway further up that K'Santh probably can't follow them through. But that could be like a pretty tense moment of the dragon coming through and then going wide-eyed and seeing them. What do they do? They could try to take him on right there. I want them to go to the bottom. I want them to face the last bad guy at the last, right? That's kind of the way I am. I don't want them to just like kill the boss early on and then just explore for. No, I'd rather them face the last bad guy. And so if I have K'Santh notice them, what I'm probably going to do is have him hover far enough away where they can't get that crystal staff at him. And maybe use his breath attack against them to drive them back. But the circle places, this is where the treasury is. Now, there are two alcoves in the treasury, and one of them says treasury and the other one says taxes. And they're actually both transporter doors into the lower level, but they go to the same place, and it just seems weird to me. And my party, for we're like trying to figure out exactly how this worked. I actually didn't have those labels on the door, but they were still trying to figure out. It's like, how does this thing work? Instead, what I was thinking of is like, okay, this might be like the central storehouse, and the teleportation doors are going to their more local tax office. So like maybe they have one on the east side of town and one on the west side of town, but only one of them works because the other doorway is buried. It's gone. It's done. But one of them does work and gets them farther down. That's kind of the way I picture it. So I didn't actually have those labels labels on there of treasury and taxes. I didn't think that was very very worthwhile. And so there's two ways down from there. You can go through the teleporter door, or the water is kind of made like this tunnel going down that you can actually shimmy down. That's much more dangerous. But it's probably going to be the one they more likely find, because that treasury door is kind of out of the way. And the way I played that philosopher guy, he didn't even know about that door. Because my thought is, why would he? The guy in the philosopher court, why would he know? Why would he know? About magic doors in the tax office, right? I mean, we don't know about magic doors in the IRS, right? But that will get, either way will get them down to the bottom. So the other thing I want to bring up is what kind of treasure, that one spot actually in the crypt. The book has a bunch of like +1 long swords. I've mentioned before, I don't particularly like magic weapons that are just a plus something. I like them to do something. And besides which, my party started at level 1, so they did not have a lot of magic items. That being said, there's a lot of swords in that room, and I just was like, here's a bunch of +1 swords, but here's some other cool stuff, and I just picked stuff. But one thing you can do is there's a lot of cool magic items in the book that if you're not playing the characters from the book, they might not have it. All right, so like Flint's griffin mane helm, which is actually horsehair, but it's a griffin mane. It's a really cool item. It's really cool, but we don't have one. And so but I wanted to keep it, and so I put it in the dungeon. It's the same thing with the staff of Magius. It's in that dungeon. And there's a couple of other, like kind of just nifty magic items. But if you do start your party at level 1, you want to build up their inventory a little bit, because if you actually look at the pre-generated characters, the characters from the book, the traditional Chronicles companions, they all have magic items. They all have magic weapons. I think all of them have magic weapons. And so you want to get your party equipped relatively soon. And so if your party does not have magic weapons, this might be a good time to give them some. Like, no one in my party uses swords, and it was probably a mistake to just put so many +1 swords in there. I was figuring, it's like, well, at some point they could sell them. I probably should have mixed it up a little bit, but you can put a particularly treasured bow in there, some pole arm. A staff of mages, something like that in there, just to, trying to give your party, something worthwhile. It's one of those weird balances that you don't want to just put items that are specifically designed for your party, because that's weird. It's like, oh, look, I only use, hoopax, and there's a +2 hoopack right in front of me. Wow. No, you don't want to do that, but you also want to be able to give them stuff that they could use. I did expect my Kinder to give that Griffin's Mane helm to the fighter. She did not. And so my Kinder has a Griffin Mane's helm. Nothing I can do about it, but have to find him a helm somewhere else. But that is something to start thinking about down here. There's another item that's from the book that is very important for those of you who have read the book, and I want to talk about this in some detail in another episode of what I'm doing with this particular item, because it's not in the module. It's specifically in the novel. And if you've read the novel, it has a specific purpose in the novels. Specifically, if you've both read Chronicles and Legends. If you've read both of those, you know what I'm talking about. It's the spell book of Fistandantilus. I put that down there and for a very specific purpose. And we're going to talk about that some, because that was an Easter egg for me, because in my game I'm the only one who's read the novels, but it was also something that's turned out to be a lot of fun. So we'll discuss that, but that is chapter 3. We have gotten halfway through Tsaroth, but it hasn't even really started yet. The lower floor is where everybody lives, including countless draconians, countless gully dwarves. You have escaped prisoners. You have wandering kinders, and you have a big bad dragon. So all that is coming up next. Please do, if you are enjoying this, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, leave a comment. I've had a lot of good comments, and I'll tell you what, just really briefly, I've had a lot of good comments about the 3rd edition DragonLance material. A lot of y'all are asking, have I read it? And as we go, we're going to actually draw more and more of that in, because especially when we get to the Tower of High Sorcery, man, the 3rd edition stuff is really good. The 1st edition stuff is not. But yes. I haven't read all of it. There's a lot of material in 3rd edition for Dragonlance, so I haven't read all of it. I've read a lot of it, and it has a lot of good stuff. It's not exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to adapt the originals to 5th edition, but it is helping me a lot. So we're going to talk more and more about that. But a lot of you have asked me in comments about that, and I really do appreciate that. Feel free, ask any questions that you'd like, anything that I can answer or address in a future video. I will be more than happy to. Really enjoying this. Please do subscribe, and we will see you very soon. Appreciate you.